Oh, it started recording. That's cool. All right, so it's been a few days since the surgery, so I thought I would put together a quick video and go over some of the things I've learned. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice, so don't take it as such. Talk to your own doctor about any questions you might have about the procedure and what you should do afterwards. I'm just going to go over some of the things that I've learned over the last few days. Let's talk a little bit about pain management. I have had three major surgeries. I've had ACL, my neck, and now the rotator cuff. And I can say by far this is the most painful surgery I have been through. ACL was pretty rough. The neck surgery actually went really well. I got a couple of metal plates in my neck. I'll have to tell you that story sometime, some other time. It's a good story. But the rotator cuff was definitely difficult. It was the hardest surgery I have come out of from an anesthesia perspective. I have never felt that nauseous and that out of it trying to recover from surgery or from being under. And you can tell that from some of the other videos about this process. I really looked out of it in those videos. But it was tough. And I kept going back and forth on the nerve block because of the work I've had done in my neck. And I know that the nerve block was administered through the neck. I was concerned that I just didn't want a needle in that area. I have metal plates in my neck, and I'm just very sensitive about everything that I went through. And the whole idea of someone sticking a needle back in my neck just kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I talked to the anesthesiologist about it before the procedure. The surgeon came in before the procedure as well and talked to me about it. He said that he had done thousands of these surgeries, and it's very painful to recover from. And if it was him, he would do the block. And so at that point, I decided, you know what, I am going to take the surgeon's advice, and I'm going to go with the block. And I'm glad that I did. Fortunately for me, they were in a rush to get me back there. I was the second person in line for surgery that day, and the first surgery ended quickly. Now, normally they would administer the block right before surgery. In fact, in one of the videos, you hear me actually tell my wife that I'm just waiting on the anesthesiologist to administer the nerve block, and they were going to take me back. Well, because they wanted to get me into surgery so quickly, they decided to do the nerve block post-op instead of pre-op. I was out for the entire process of them putting the needle in my neck, which was good because I was really concerned about that. Hindsight, it was nothing to be worried about. If someone asked me whether or not I would do the nerve block again, I would wholeheartedly say yes, I would do the nerve block again. As I was waking up in the recovery room, at first I had sensation in my hand. I could move my fingers because the block hadn't fully taken effect yet. I think it takes about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm not sure on that, but it takes a little bit of time for it to take full effect. So as I was waking up, the nerve block was kicking in, and it was a weird sensation for me to slowly lose all feeling in my arm and not be able to move my fingers anymore. And at the same time, I'm trying to wake up from the anesthesia. So that may have been what made the whole wake up process for me even worse. Now, while that nerve block was in place, it lasted about 8 to 9 hours for me. During that time, I could not move my hand at all. It felt like my hand was asleep, like I had been sitting on it for a few hours. So it was a really weird sensation to look at your hand and want to move it, and it doesn't respond at all. But I'm glad I got the nerve block. It got me home to the point where I was able to get ice on it and get me through the first few hours so I could sleep off the anesthesia and stuff. So now let me talk about the recliner. I am so glad we moved the recliner into the bedroom. I don't know how I would have survived otherwise. You are not going to want to lay down on your back after this surgery. You're going to need to get propped up somehow. Just the gravity pulling down on the shoulder creates a lot of discomfort. At least it created a lot of discomfort for me. So I'm glad that we had the recliner and that we moved it into the bedroom so that I'd have someplace kind of quiet to go and sleep off the anesthesia. Now it's been, so the surgery was on Wednesday. This is Tuesday, so almost a week. I'm still sleeping in that recliner. I can't lay down. And I imagine it's going to be a few weeks before I'm going to be back in my own bed. I'm really looking forward to it because I do not sleep well on my back. So anyway, the recliner is key. If you don't have a recliner, I highly recommend that you borrow one, rent one, get one somehow, because that's probably going to be your best option for sleeping over the next few days, and the only way that I was able to get comfortable. If I sat up for long periods of time, again, gravity would just pull on the shoulder and pull it down, and over a while it would start hurting. Even when I got into the recliner, it would take several minutes in order for that pain to go away. Now, overall, I had mentioned that this has been the most painful experience I've gone through as far as all of the surgeries I've had. That said, the pain has always been manageable. I have never been in a situation where I felt like the pain was out of control or I was just writhing in pain. In fact, when I took the hydrocodone, I only took half of the pill, and I was able to take up to 2 of them every 4 to 6 hours. So that tells you, I'm taking a quarter of the dosage that I was allowed, and I was able to maintain the pain. And I really only took the hydrocodone right before bed. That helped me because it makes me tired. So it not only did it take the edge off the pain, but it just helped me sleep because I was in that recliner, and I find it difficult to fall asleep in the recliner. So those 2 reasons are the reasons why I took the hydrocodone. Now I'm sleeping without it. I'm just getting used to being in the recliner. Last night I slept about 7 hours, and that seems to be about what I'm averaging. And I'm getting in and out of the recliner a lot better now. But the pain is there, but it's nothing that is not manageable. It's been okay to manage. When I came home from the hospital, there is no way I would have been able to survive that first 24, 48 hours without my wife right there next to me the entire time. Trying to get the anesthesia out of my system, and the pain meds will make you dizzy and lose your balance and stuff. So just trying to get up to walk to the bathroom, if you think about trying to brush your teeth, trying to put your pants on, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, you need somebody there next to you for that first 48 hours just to help you get around and to function. I thought I got along pretty well with my left hand before the surgery, and I felt like I was going to be pretty independent, and I was really surprised at how difficult it was for me to just do normal activities. I like eating yogurt. I figured, well, that's a very simple food that I can eat as I'm recovering. Just trying to get the lid off of the yogurt cup, or try to hold the yogurt cup, because I couldn't really hold it in my right hand. I'm sitting there trying to eat yogurt off the table as the cup is moving away from me. I'm sure it was very comical for the people watching. My wife had to come over and hold the yogurt cup for me so I could eat it. Again, that would have been great video to have. We should have got that for YouTube. But little things like that, opening bags and crackers and things, it's just, I know I'm talking about all these little simple things, but wow, it was so nice having Jenny there the entire time to help me. Now I'm a lot more self-sufficient now. I can get around a little bit better, but that first 48 hours was rough, and I would highly recommend you got somebody that can stay right next to you that first 48 hours to get you through all of those rough spots. So the other problem with the pain medications and coming off of the anesthesia is constipation. People told me ahead of time to be prepared for that. In fact, the anesthesiologist had said, make sure you have some laxatives on hand, maybe some stool softeners, but you're going to need something to get you regular again, because this is going to block you up. So we had those things on hand and ready to go. Where I think I made another mistake, though, is I introduced a lot of sodium into my diet, especially the day that I got back. My throat was really rough and raw from the tube being put down in it, and then just the drugs drying out my throat, that I wanted chicken noodle soup. And so I ate chicken noodle soup and Ritz crackers, which is comfort food for me, and comfort food for a lot of people. I mean, whenever your throat hurts, you want chicken noodle soup, right? I mean, what could be better than that? Chicken noodle soup, beef broth, but that's got a lot of sodium in it. So sodium makes you retain water. And so I was drinking a ton of water. I don't drink carbonated beverages a whole lot, but I did have a couple of carbonated beverages, again, just to kind of help with my throat. And I thought that might help my mouth not be so dry, because my mouth was just constantly dry coming out of that anesthesia. So I got extremely bloated. Constipation plus being extremely bloated, very uncomfortable. I would recommend, if I did this again, I'm going to change my diet so that I do not have as much sodium right after surgery. That did not work out well for me. Another thing to think about is transportation, and talk to your doctor about this ahead of time as to what your restrictions are going to be. Fortunately, I had that conversation. I talked to other folks that had rotator cuff surgery done, and they have told me that they were advised not to drive. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. Yes, I can physically get behind the wheel of a car right now and get it down the street. However, I had someone tell me, and I'm not giving legal advice here, I'm not an attorney or whatever, so ask your own attorney, whether or not they think you should drive or not. But from what I was told from a legal perspective, the person said to me that they would not want to put themselves in a situation where they had to explain to a judge or a jury why they were driving when their doctor had advised them not to get behind the wheel of a car. I figure that's pretty sound and logical advice, right? I don't want to put myself into a situation where I'm explaining to a police officer why I'm driving when my doctor has advised me not to do that, because I'm pretty sure from that point on things are going to go downhill for me. So I've made arrangements. Fortunately, my day job I can do from pretty much anywhere I have a network connection. So they're cool with me working from home the next 4 to 6 weeks, and it's not a problem. I got some guys from the office that live nearby, so if I need to get into the office for whatever reason, I'll be able to catch a ride. But make sure you plan for that ahead of time, how you're going to get to and from work. You don't want to wait until after your surgery to figure that out. Another thing that was really uncomfortable for me was that I had to leave the gauze and the dressing in place for so long. My surgery was on Wednesday and my post-op wasn't until Monday, so that was a long time to have all that dressing on my shoulder, and it really became an irritant. And I couldn't wear a shirt in the meantime because they didn't want me taking my arm out of the sling. After the post-op, they took the dressing off. They said that now at that point I can take my arm out of the sling and I can bend it at the elbow, and I can now do the stress ball exercises as well, so I don't lose strength in my forearm and mobility in my elbow. Along with that, now I can put a shirt on, and we'll post another video on what we did with the shirts, or we'll put a video clip on the end of this one as to what we did with the shirts. But I took an extra large t-shirt, which is what I'm wearing here, and then Jenny just cut a little bit of the armhole down here so that it's got a much bigger or much wider opening. That way I can snake the shirt over my right arm first, bring it up, and then over my head without having to raise my arm. So we'll get some video of that. We actually got that trick from somebody else on YouTube. That wasn't something that we came up with. So I don't want you thinking we're all that smart, all right? Because we're not. We figure things out like everybody else on YouTube, right? You figure out whether or not somebody vlogged about it, right? And we get our information from there. But anyway, the shirt trick works. It was nice to be able to put a shirt on after a while. That was just a long explanation about being able to wear a shirt. Oh, by the way, do you like this coffee mug? My daughter made this for me. We got the little stars on it and hearts, and isn't that cute? Good coffee. Let's see. Anything else that comes to mind? That's about it. I got up and moved around too much the second day. I think that's in another one of the videos that I posted. I was feeling good, and I said something about how I was getting up and walking around every hour and a half, every 2 hours. That was a little too ambitious, because that night I really felt it in my shoulder, and I should not have been up walking around that much. And I was wanting to make sure that I kept blood flow to my legs, and that I didn't get any blood clots or anything like that. I think I just overdid it. So my advice there, or the next time I have something like this done, which is hopefully never, but I am definitely going to take it easy on day 2 and day 3. The body actually recovers when you're sleeping. Hindsight, I probably should have spent some more time just dozing off and letting my body recover. I am not real good about just sitting around, though. I want to be up and active and doing things. I don't like sitting in a chair. So if you're anything like me, the best advice I could give you is to do what your doctor tells you, and if your doctor tells you to rest, you need to rest. If you like this video, please let us know by hitting the like button. To find out more about KW Fit, you can visit our website at kwfit.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more of our behind the scenes and fitness videos. Thanks for watching.